The conversion of Constantine marks a pivotal moment in human history, forever altering the trajectory of Western civilization. This singular event sparked a chain reaction that would reshape the fate of empires, the course of Christianity, and the very fabric of our modern world. As we embark on this journey through the shadows of the past, the question echoes: what secrets lie hidden behind the emperor's fateful embrace of the cross? In the twilight of the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire stood at a crossroads, its vast expanse stretching from the misty shores of Britain to the scorching deserts of Egypt, and from the Iberian Peninsula to the fertile plains of Mesopotamia. The empire's intricate web of power, commerce, and culture was woven from the threads of diverse traditions, languages, and faiths. As the sun set over the eternal city, casting a golden glow upon the marble temples and basilicas, the whispers of discontent and upheaval rustled through the corridors of power. It was an era marked by turmoil and transformation, as the empire struggled to maintain its cohesion in the face of internal strife, external pressures, and economic strain. The once mighty legions, those bulwarks of Roman authority, now found themselves beset on all sides by the relentless onslaught of barbarian hordes and the subtle erosion of their own discipline and morale. The imperial throne, that sacred seat of power, had become a precarious perch, with emperors rising and falling like the ebb and flow of the tides. In this tumultuous landscape, a figure emerged who would leave an indelible mark upon the course of history: Flavius Valerius Constantinus, known to posterity as Constantine the Great. Born in the city of Naissus, in the province of Moesia, around 272 AD, Constantine was the son of Flavius Constantius, a skilled military commander, and Helena, a woman of humble origins who would later become a pivotal figure in the development of Christianity. As a young man, Constantine received a traditional Roman education, immersed in the classics, rhetoric, and the arts of war. He demonstrated a keen intellect, a charismatic personality, and an unyielding ambition that would drive him to scale the heights of power. Constantine's early career was marked by a series of military campaigns, as he fought alongside his father against the barbarian tribes that threatened the empire's borders. It was during this period that he developed a deep understanding of the intricacies of warfare, the importance of strategic alliances, and the value of adaptability in the face of uncertainty. In 293 AD, Constantine's father was appointed as Caesar, or junior emperor, in the western provinces, with Constantine accompanying him on his campaigns. This exposure to the inner workings of imperial politics and the cutthroat world of Roman court intrigue would serve Constantine well in his future endeavors. As he navigated the treacherous landscape of imperial power, Constantine began to forge relationships with key figures, including the Emperor Maximian, who would later become a crucial ally in his quest for dominance. As Constantine navigated the complex web of imperial politics, he found himself increasingly drawn into the orbit of Emperor Maximian, who ruled over the western provinces with an iron fist. In 305 AD, Constantine's father, Flavius Constantius, was promoted to the rank of Augustus, or senior emperor in the west, with Constantine by his side. This elevation in status brought Constantine into closer proximity to the imperial throne, and he began to forge a reputation as a skilled military strategist and a charismatic leader. As Constantine's power grew, so did his fascination with the mystical and the unknown. He became increasingly interested in the cult of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, which was popular among Roman soldiers and officials. This solar deity was often depicted as a powerful, all-seeing god who offered protection and guidance to those who worshipped him. Constantine's affinity for Sol Invictus would later influence his perceptions of Christianity, as he began to see parallels between the two faiths. In 312 AD, Constantine faced off against his rival, Maxentius, in a battle that would change the course of history. The two armies clashed at the Milvian Bridge, just outside Rome, in a conflict that was as much about ideology as it was about power. According to legend, Constantine experienced a vision on the eve of the battle in which he saw a cross of light emblazoned across the sky, accompanied by the words, "In hoc signo vinces, in this sign you will conquer." This epiphany would have far-reaching consequences for Constantine, the Roman Empire, and the future of Christianity. As the sun rose over the Milvian Bridge on October 28, 312 AD, Constantine's army, bolstered by his vision of the cross, prepared to face off against Maxentius's forces. The air was thick with tension as the two armies clashed, their armor glinting in the morning light. Constantine, resplendent in his imperial regalia, rode into battle at the head of his troops, the symbol of the cross emblazoned on their shields and banners. The battle was fierce, with both sides suffering heavy losses, but ultimately Constantine's forces emerged victorious, Maxentius's army fleeing in disarray. As the dust settled, Constantine gazed out upon the carnage-strewn battlefield, his mind reeling with the implications of his victory. He had won a crushing triumph, one that would cement his position as the dominant force in the Western Roman Empire. But more than that, he had been given a sign, a divine mandate to rule, and he was determined to fulfill it. In the aftermath of the battle, Constantine ordered the construction of a triumphal arch, the Arch of Constantine, to commemorate his victory and solidify his claim to power. The arch, which still stands today in Rome, is a testament to Constantine's strategic genius and his ability to harness the power of symbolism. Adorned with intricate carvings and sculptures, it celebrates Constantine's military prowess and his status as a living god, while also subtly introducing Christian motifs and imagery. The arch is a masterful blend of pagan and Christian iconography, reflecting Constantine's own complex and evolving worldview. As news of Constantine's victory spread throughout the empire, he began to consolidate his power, issuing a series of edicts and decrees aimed at solidifying his position and promoting the Christian faith. One of his first acts was to issue the Edict of Milan, a landmark decree that granted tolerance to all religions within the empire, including Christianity. This move was a shrewd calculation, designed to win the support of Christian communities throughout the empire, while also undermining the power of his pagan opponents. The Edict of Milan marked a significant turning point in the history of Christianity, as it paved the way for the faith's eventual rise to dominance within the Roman Empire. It also reflected Constantine's own growing fascination with Christianity, which he saw as a unifying force that could help him consolidate his power and bring stability to the empire. As he navigated the complex web of imperial politics, Constantine found himself increasingly drawn into the orbit of Christian leaders, including Bishop Eusebius of Nicomedia, who would become one of his closest advisors. Eusebius, a learned and charismatic churchman, played a crucial role in shaping Constantine's understanding of Christianity, introducing him to the works of early Christian writers and theologians. Through his interactions with Eusebius, Constantine began to develop a deeper appreciation for the faith, seeing it as a powerful tool for promoting unity and stability within the empire. As he delved deeper into the mysteries of Christianity, Constantine found himself confronting complex theological debates and controversies, including the ongoing struggle between Orthodox and Arian factions within the Church. The Arian controversy, which centered on the nature of Christ's divinity, had been simmering for decades, with different factions vying for dominance. Constantine, eager to promote unity and stability within the empire, saw an opportunity to intervene, convening a council of bishops at Nicaea in 325 AD to resolve the dispute once and for all. The Council of Nicaea would prove to be a pivotal moment in the history of Christianity, as it brought together some of the most prominent church leaders of the time to debate and define the fundamental tenets of the faith. As the Council of Nicaea convened in 325 AD, Constantine's presence was palpable, his influence evident in the careful selection of bishops invited to attend. The council was a masterful stroke of diplomacy, bringing together some of the most prominent church leaders of the time to debate and define the fundamental tenets of the faith. Eusebius of Nicomedia, now a trusted advisor to Constantine, played a key role in shaping the agenda, while other notable figures such as Alexander of Alexandria and Athanasius would also leave their mark on the proceedings. The council's deliberations were marked by intense debate and theological wrangling, as the assembled bishops grappled with the complexities of Christ's nature and the relationship between the Father and the Son. The Arian faction, led by Arius himself, argued that Jesus was a created being, subordinate to God the Father, while their opponents, including Athanasius, insisted on the divinity of Christ, co-equal with the Father. Constantine, though not a theologian himself, recognized the importance of resolving this dispute, and his presence helped to focus the bishop's attention on finding a unified solution. As the council progressed, it became clear that the bishops were divided, with some leaning towards the Arian perspective while others supported the Orthodox view. Constantine, seeking to broker a compromise, intervened personally, urging the bishops to find common ground and establish a unified doctrine. His efforts ultimately bore fruit, as the council produced the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith that affirmed the divinity of Christ and established the groundwork for future theological debates. The Nicene Creed, with its affirmation of Jesus as of one substance, homoousios with the Father, marked a significant milestone in the development of Christian doctrine. Though not universally accepted at the time, it would eventually become a cornerstone of Orthodox Christianity, shaping the course of theological debate for centuries to come. Constantine's role in promoting this creed cannot be overstated, as his influence helped to ensure its widespread adoption throughout the empire. In the aftermath of the Council of Nicaea, Constantine continued to promote the Christian faith, issuing a series of edicts and decrees aimed at supporting the church and suppressing pagan practices. One notable example was his decision to build a new capital city, Constantinople, on the site of the ancient Greek colony of Byzantium. This strategic location, situated at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, would become a center of Christian power and learning, rivaling Rome itself in importance. As Constantine's vision for a Christian empire took shape, he began to surround himself with advisors and officials who shared his commitment to the faith. Men like Eusebius of Nicomedia and Athanasius became trusted confidants, helping to guide the emperor's policy decisions and promote the interests of the church. Meanwhile, Constantine's own family was increasingly drawn into the orbit of Christianity, with his mother, Helena, emerging as a powerful patron of the faith. Helena, now an elderly woman, had long been a devotee of Christianity, and her influence on Constantine's spiritual development should not be underestimated. As the emperor's mother, she enjoyed a unique position of authority, using her wealth and status to support the construction of churches and promote the welfare of Christian communities throughout the empire. Her most famous exploit, however, was yet to come, a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, undertaken in 326 AD, which would leave an indelible mark on the history of Christianity. With Constantine's blessing, Helena set out on her journey, traveling to Palestine and visiting many of the sites associated with the life of Jesus. Her itinerary took her to Jerusalem, where she oversaw the construction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a magnificent structure built on the site of Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. This iconic church would become a beacon of Christian pilgrimage, drawing devotees from across the empire and cementing the status of Jerusalem as a sacred city. As Helena's pilgrimage progressed, she became increasingly involved in the discovery and veneration of relics associated with the life of Jesus. Her most famous discovery was the true cross, said to be the very cross on which Christ had been crucified. According to legend, Helena discovered the cross after excavating the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where it had lain hidden for centuries. Though the historicity of this event is disputed, its impact on the development of Christian devotion cannot be overstated. The veneration of relics, particularly those associated with the life of Jesus, would become a hallmark of medieval Christianity, with pilgrims traveling vast distances to catch a glimpse of these sacred objects. Constantine's mother, Helena, played a pivotal role in promoting this cult of relics, using her wealth and influence to establish a network of churches and shrines dedicated to their veneration. As the empire continued its gradual transition towards Christianity, the figure of Helena emerged as a powerful symbol of devotion and piety, inspiring countless others to follow in her footsteps. As the years passed, Constantine's own commitment to Christianity only deepened, with the emperor becoming increasingly involved in the intricacies of theological debate. His relationship with Eusebius of Nicomedia remained close, though the bishop's own orthodoxy would eventually be called into question by his opponents. Meanwhile, Athanasius, now a rising star within the church, continued to play a key role in shaping the emperor's understanding of Christian doctrine. The complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized the early Christian church was reflected in the relationships between these prominent figures. Constantine, as the supreme arbiter of imperial power, found himself drawn into the midst of these theological disputes, using his authority to promote the interests of his preferred faction. Though his own understanding of Christianity was still evolving, the emperor's influence on the course of Christian history cannot be overstated, as he helped to shape the doctrine, practice, and institutions of the faith in ways that would resonate for centuries to come. As Constantine's involvement in Christian theology deepened, he found himself increasingly entangled in the complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized the early Christian church. The emperor's relationship with Eusebius of Nicomedia, though still close, was beginning to show signs of strain as the bishop's own orthodoxy came under scrutiny from his opponents. One of the most significant challenges facing the emperor and his theological advisors was the ongoing struggle against Arianism, which had been simmering for decades. The Nicene Creed, though a major milestone in the development of Christian doctrine, had not entirely eliminated the controversy, as many Arian bishops and theologians continued to promote their own views on the nature of Christ. Constantine, determined to promote unity and stability within the empire, saw an opportunity to intervene once again, this time by convening a second ecumenical council. In 330 AD, the emperor issued a summons to the bishops of the Eastern Roman Empire, inviting them to gather at Constantinople for a new council. The gathering, though not as widely attended as the Council of Nicaea, was still a significant event, drawing together many prominent church leaders and theologians. Eusebius of Nicomedia, now an established figure within the imperial court, played a key role in shaping the agenda, while Athanasius and other Orthodox bishops worked to promote their own views on the nature of Christ. Though the Arian faction was still present, its influence had begun to wane, as the Orthodox view gained increasing traction among the bishops. As the council progressed, it became clear that the bishops were coalescing around the Orthodox view, with many Arian bishops beginning to defect to the other side. The emperor's own commitment to Christianity was evident in his speeches and writings, as he urged the bishops to find common ground and establish a unified doctrine. Though the council did not produce a new creed or statement of faith, it marked an important turning point in the development of Christian theology, as the Orthodox view began to gain widespread acceptance throughout the empire. The aftermath of the council saw a significant shift in the balance of power within the church, as Orthodox bishops and theologians gained increasing influence at the expense of their Arian opponents. Eusebius of Nicomedia, though still a respected figure within the imperial court, found himself increasingly isolated as his own orthodoxy came under scrutiny from his opponents. Athanasius, meanwhile, emerged as one of the leading figures within the church, his reputation as a theologian and polemicist earning him widespread recognition and respect. As Constantine's reign entered its final decade, the emperor's commitment to Christianity remained unwavering, with the imperial court becoming increasingly dominated by Christian advisors and officials. The construction of churches and other Christian monuments continued apace, as the empire began to take on a distinctly Christian character. Though the old pagan order still lingered, its influence was waning as the new faith gained increasing traction among the population. In 335 AD, Constantine convened a final council at Jerusalem, which would prove to be one of the most significant events in the history of Christianity. The gathering, attended by many prominent bishops and theologians, marked an important milestone in the development of Christian doctrine, as the Orthodox view gained widespread acceptance throughout the empire. Though the Arian controversy was far from over, the council's deliberations helped to establish a clear direction for the church, as it navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized the early Christian world. Constantine, though frail and aging, remained a dominant figure, his presence helping to focus the bishop's attention on finding a unified solution. As Constantine's reign drew to a close, the emperor's legacy as a champion of Christianity was secure, with the faith poised to become the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. In the final years of his life, Constantine became increasingly preoccupied with the question of succession as he sought to ensure a smooth transition of power to his sons. The emperor's relationship with his family had always been complex, with rivalries and tensions simmering just below the surface. Though Constantine had designated his three sons, Constantine II, Constantius II, and Constans, As co-emperors, it was clear that the question of succession would be far from straightforward. As the emperor's health began to decline, the imperial court became increasingly divided, with different factions vying for influence and power. As Constantine's health continued to decline, he became increasingly concerned with the question of his own mortality and the fate of his empire. In 337 AD, the emperor fell gravely ill, and it became clear that his time was drawing to a close. According to the historian Eusebius, Constantine summoned his bishops and asked to be baptized, a ritual he had postponed until the end of his life in accordance with the common practice of the time. The baptism took place on the eve of Easter, and Constantine donned the white robes of a neophyte, symbolizing his newfound faith. Following his baptism, Constantine's condition rapidly deteriorated, and he passed away on May 22, 337 AD at the age of 65. His death marked the end of an era, as the Roman Empire was plunged into a period of uncertainty and power struggles. The emperor's three sons, Constantine II, Constantius II, and Constans, would eventually succeed him, but their reigns would be marked by conflict and instability. In the immediate aftermath of Constantine's death, his body was taken to Constantinople, where it was laid to rest in the Church of the Holy Apostles. The funeral procession was a grand affair, with dignitaries and clergy from across the empire in attendance. According to Eusebius, the bishop of Nicomedia delivered a eulogy praising Constantine's conversion and his role in establishing Christianity as the dominant faith of the Roman Empire. As news of Constantine's death spread throughout the empire, it sparked a wave of reactions from various factions and interest groups. The Arian bishops, who had long been at odds with the emperor over matters of doctrine, saw his passing as an opportunity to reassert their influence. Meanwhile, the Orthodox bishops, led by Athanasius, worked to consolidate their gains and ensure that the legacy of Nicaea would endure. In the years following Constantine's death, the Roman Empire was plagued by a series of civil wars and power struggles as his sons vied for control. Constantine II, the eldest son, was killed in battle in 340 AD, while Constans, the youngest son, was assassinated in 350 AD. Constantius II, who had emerged as the dominant force among the brothers, would eventually reign supreme, but his reign would be marked by controversy and theological disputes. Despite the turmoil that followed Constantine's death, his legacy as a champion of Christianity endured. The faith continued to spread throughout the empire, with churches and monasteries springing up in even the most remote regions. The conversion of Constantine had marked a turning point in the history of Christianity, as it transitioned from a persecuted minority to a dominant world religion. As the decades passed, the legend of Constantine grew, with stories of his conversion and reign becoming an integral part of Christian folklore. The emperor's reputation as a wise and just ruler was cemented, and he was hailed as a hero by generations of Christians. In 3091 AD, the Roman Empire would officially become a Christian state, with Theodosius I issuing a decree that made Christianity the sole authorized faith. The city of Constantinople, which Constantine had founded as his new capital, would go on to become a major center of Christianity, rivaling Rome in importance and influence. The Church of the Holy Apostles, where Constantine was buried, became a place of pilgrimage, attracting devotees from across the empire. As the centuries passed, the legacy of Constantine continued to shape the course of Christian history, inspiring countless generations of believers and influencing the development of Western civilization. In the Eastern Roman Empire, which would eventually become known as the Byzantine Empire, Constantine's memory was revered, and his image appeared on coins, mosaics, and other works of art. The emperor's conversion was seen as a divine providence, one that had saved the empire from darkness and chaos. As the Byzantine Empire navigated the challenges of the Middle Ages, it would continue to draw inspiration from the legacy of Constantine, who had established Christianity as its foundation and guiding principle. The impact of Constantine's conversion could also be seen in the development of Christian art and architecture, as grand buildings and monuments were constructed to honor the faith. The basilica style, which emerged during Constantine's reign, would become a hallmark of Christian architecture, with its emphasis on grandeur, simplicity, and functionality. As Christianity spread throughout Europe, it would bring with it a rich cultural heritage, one that was shaped by the legacy of Constantine and the early Christian church. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.